Alright, this is the Shadow Ranger, and I have what is going to be kind of a rant. This is originally a response to the crew at DivaDirt.com. They are a site dedicated solely to women's wrestling, and I'll put the link to their site in the description box. They are a very good site. I encourage you all to check them out. Anyone who's a fan of women's wrestling should check them out. Comes from over the past few weeks. I have talked about they do several wrestling radio shows devoted to women's wrestling, and I have brought up the fact that asked why is it that their shows almost never talk about TNA and the Knockouts. And one of the members of the site asked me to write up a response and send it to him about why I like TNA and why I think it's good and why the Knockouts are good. And I wrote a text form and sent it to him, and this is the audio form of that. So here we go. I'm going to start with this quote said on the December 1st, 2010 edition of Diva Dirt Live by one of the hosts. Listen.
Right. A lot of the complaints that we make isn't necessarily about the matches. It's about the time and it's about the lack of storyline. So I guess some of the complaints are about the entertainment aspect of it. I don't necessarily complain that the matches are like awful, whatever, because usually I think they're an okay standard for the divas. But I think the problem that a lot of people have, and this is something that we bring up on the site all the time, is that there's no storylines and there's not enough time to even develop a storyline.
Yeah. Alright, what you just said are fair concerns for fans of women's wrestling. However, in my opinion, these concerns are almost non-existent in TNA with the Knockouts. Rarely is there an Impact that does not feature the Knockouts. I challenge you to find 5 Knockouts matches that are less than 4 minutes, other than the Awesome Kong squash matches, of course. Most of the Knockouts are consistently involved in a storyline that is developed week after week. There are currently 3 different storylines going on in the Knockouts division. We have the Mickie James vs. Tara feud, which is going to lead into Mickie vs. Madison Rayne. We have the ongoing storyline with Angelina Love and Winter, aka Katie Lee Burchill. We also have the recently begun angle involving Sarita's wins, her push, and her conflict with Madison Rayne. There's also a 4th story that was started a few weeks back about Velvet Sky wanting to do more on her own and prove herself as a wrestler. But to be fair, I think that angle may have been dropped. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens with it. You have a roster of talented and properly trained female wrestlers. The storylines are decent. There are multiple storylines for the women in TNA, and they almost always put on good matches that get a decent amount of time. TNA consistently gives us what we say we want from women's wrestling: good matches and storylines. WWE just finished a nice storyline with Lay Cool and Natalya. But can you name another storyline that the Divas have been in for the past few months? Because I'm drawing a blank. Now, I know what people who hear this are what you're going to say. What about Taylor Wilder Hamada? I love Taylor Wilder Hamada. In fact, Taylor is my favorite knockout, and I think she should be the Knockouts champion. In fact, I've already booked out a 7-month title reign for her. I even sent her the storyline that I booked out, and she messaged me back telling me how much she liked it. Yes, the Knockouts tag titles aren't defended much, and that is a shame. I think those belts would be great to showcase on Explosion. However, even with that being said, look how much content the Knockouts are giving us. Another thing that people are going to bring up is the era of Awesome Kong. I too was sorry to see Kong go, and I hope she returns one day. Even though the Knockouts have lost some steam over the past year or so, there has never been a point where they were bad. They've only become less great than they were, and they are regaining that form of glory. Now let's move on to TNA as a whole. Everything on the show has a purpose, has a reason. You have a good women's division with good matches and storylines. You have a good tag team division with good matches and storylines and actual tag teams. You have an X Division title with storylines going on. You have non-title feuds. You have a heavyweight division with good matches and storylines. That is my favorite thing about TNA. You get a good show with multiple storylines up and down the card to follow in just a 2-hour show. Now, also, they don't spoon feed storylines to you. They give you actual, somewhat complex storylines that you actually have to pay attention to and think about a little. I like that I have to think a bit. I don't need wrestling spoon fed to me. Now, let's take a minute right now and break down the current feuds happening in TNA. With Impact is a 2-hour show minus commercials, about 90 minutes. Here's what you're getting. You got the overall Dixie Carter versus Immortal storyline. Jeff Hardy versus Matt Morgan featuring Mr. Anderson. Samoa Joe versus Jeff Jarrett featuring Kurt Angle. The Pope versus Abyss. The EV2 storyline with RVD and Rhino. The Douglas Williams versus Fortune storyline, mainly him going against AJ and Kazarian. Robbie E and Cookie versus Jay Lethal. The Team 3D split. Tara versus Mickie James feud. The Angelina Love and Winter storyline. The push of Sarita and her run-ins with Madison Rayne. Motor City Machine Guns versus Generation Me over the tag team titles. I just listed 12 storylines. All 12 of these storylines were progressed just this week on Impact, December 2nd, 2010 episode. I challenge you to name one other promotion in America that gives you all of this in just 2 hours a week. You also get further storyline development on Reaction each week and extra matches on Explosion. I mean, they have so many different things to offer you. Again, I just gave out 12 storylines. You know what? I don't really care about the Team 3D split or RVD versus Rhino. But it's okay, because even taking those two things out, I still got 10 other stories I can follow on TNA. I mean, these people have given you practically everything. They brought in stars of the past who will put their body on the line for you. They have the stars of today who will bust their ass for you, and they have the stars of tomorrow who will do everything they can to build themselves up in your eyes. I mean, this company gives you what more could you possibly want from a wrestling company? What do you want that they don't give you? You get good matches. You get good storylines. You get multiple storylines and feuds and angles to follow. You got stars of the past, stars of the present, stars of the future. I don't get it. You know, I watch this show every week and I enjoy it every week, and then I go online, I go to YouTube and they'll listen to the callers on the wrestling radio shows, and I see the message boards and I see all this hate that TNA gets, and I just ask myself, what more do you people want? And I know I sound like a freaking just nerdy ass wrestling fan getting all worked up over this. I'm sorry for that. I don't know. I just don't get it, man. I mean, everything that people ask for, you tell people to describe a wrestling company, describe what you think would be a great wrestling company. Everything they list, I'm almost certain I can find somewhere where TNA is giving you that. You want to see the stars of the future? Generation Me, Robbie E, Jay Lethal. You want to see the stars of today? Jeff Hardy, Ken Anderson, AJ Styles. You want to see some stars of the past? EV2, Hulk Hogan. I mean, Team 3D, Kurt Angle. You want great matches? Kurt Angle gives you great matches. The Guns give you great matches. AJ gives you great matches. Joe gives you great matches. Jeff Jarrett gives you great matches. The Knockouts give you great matches. The X Division gives you great matches. What more do you want? What is it I'm missing? Because what is it that's so bad about TNA that I'm just not seeing? Please, somebody make a video and tell me, what am I not seeing? Alright, this is the Shadow Ranger. Thank you for listening. See you later. Goodbye.